Vance gives a hard sell for the spending patch to House Republicans. State media Politico is reporting this one. Says J.D. Vance told House Republicans hours ahead of an expected vote, that's today, on a 7-month funding patch that Republicans will take the blame for the government shutdown if you don't pass this crap. Vance emphasized that Republicans had little room for dissent. We got a tight margin here. Mike Johnson is saying, we already lost one vote. Vance said this, we can't lose another. That one vote belongs to Thomas Massey, and Trump came out and obliterated Thomas Massey. And this is interesting because Massey's actually getting a lot of support on this, and we like Thomas Massey here. We understand what he's doing in principle. We question tactically whether it's the best thing to do right now. When your team has the ball, you got to run those plays. But of course, we do appreciate our congresspeople who are trying to save the country. But Trump came out and blasted him, said, look, thank you to the House Freedom Caucus. They came out for just delivering a big blow to the radical left Democrats and their desire to raise taxes and shut our country down. They hate America and all it stands for. True. That's why they allowed millions of criminals to invade our nation. Sometimes it takes great courage to do the right thing. Congressman Thomas Massey of Kentucky is an automatic no vote on just about everything, despite the fact that he's always voted for continuing resolutions in the past. Now, I looked that up, and I don't think that is accurate. I don't think Massey's ever voted for one. He should be primaried, says Trump, and I will lead the charge against him. He's just another grandstander who's too much trouble and not worth the fight. He reminds me of Liz Cheney. Oh, that hurts. Before her historic record-breaking fall and loss, the people of Kentucky won't stand for it. Just watch. Do I have any takers? Anyway, thank you again to the House Freedom Caucus for your very important vote. We need to buy some time in order to make America great again, greater than ever before. So unite and win, from President Trump. Now, a lot of people like Massey. I like Massey. I think that Massey has some problems, no doubt about it. I think he was on some of the very important issues we've talked about, like the election. He may have some bad opinions on the election and other items, but I think he's been pretty solid on spending and things like FISA, right? I think he's been pretty good on both those issues. We like him. We understand what Trump is doing here, by the way. And Trump does this, just to be clear, not with the idea of eliminating this person, although that might be what he ultimately wants. But we've also seen this where Trump will come out and attack somebody, right? Megyn Kelly. And I think Megyn Kelly is where I learned that Trump does this. Megyn Kelly gave an interview. I heard her have a talk somewhere. And after all these years, remember, there was a lot of tension between those two. Trump went after Megyn hard after that Rosie O'Donnell comment at that first debate. And then all those years went by. Megyn's career was a roller coaster, right? She went over, I think, to NBC, then started her new thing, and now she's crushing it. But it was like a little bit of an ebbs and flow there. Left Fox, went over to NBC, and so on. But I think she said that when she met him at the UFC or something like that, it came up again, and Trump made a comment like, but everybody was watching, weren't they? The thing? Like she was like, you're pretty rough on me, but everybody was watching, weren't they? Right? So it's almost like he pushes people and makes them the enemy of Trump, knowing that it's going to draw attention to them, right? If he doesn't mention Massey, nobody knows who Massey is, forgets about Massey, is irrelevant. But by calling him out, it actually elevates Massey's stature, and it creates a bunch of other people who come and support him behind Massey. I don't really know what Trump is doing here, whether he wants Massey ultimately gone, whether he's trying to convince Massey to jump on board. I don't think Massey will, or what. But he also spelled Liz Cheney's name wrong, right? Isn't it Cheney? Who cares? She doesn't deserve a proofread, but you understand the point. All right, so that's what's happening. Thomas Massey now getting raked over the coals by the president, and J.D. Vance made his way over there. So he's heading over to the Republican meeting, trying to put pressure on people, probably not to be a tie-breaking vote in any way, but just to make sure that the White House has a representative there. Crew walking over there to try to get it done. So we'll see what happens with that today. Of course, Mike Johnson was out earlier saying we'll have the votes to pass this CR. And so let's see what Mike Johnson had to say about this today.
Hands up.
Not going to watch the whole thing, but let's just, if we can get some Mike Johnson action here. Other House representatives, what's up, Steve Scalise? Go to Johnson, see what Johnson has for us.
It's also a moment of clarity and real contrast. The contrast was on display last week on the House floor. It was a shameful display by the Democrats. They are flailing, as is noted. They have no leader, no vision, no plan, no platform they can run on, because that was repudiated in the election. And they're in a panic mode right now. And so you see them lashing out. You see increasing profanity. There are many stories many of you have written about this new track they've taken.
Lots of poop language.
They just scream and shout and curse at everyone. I don't think that's going to be very productive either. And you also see the contrast going on this morning. They either have an issue with reading comprehension, or they are attempting to run one of the most shameful misinformation campaigns that we've ever seen in our lives. We filed the CR, the continuing resolution, on Saturday. And as was noted, they had already come out panning the bill that literally had not yet been seen. They said, quote, this is the House Democrat leadership team's statement on Friday. Remember, the bill was filed on Saturday afternoon. On Friday, they said, quote, Republicans have decided to introduce a partisan continuing resolution that threatens to cut funding for health care, nutritional assistance, and veterans benefits through the end of the year. Every single word of that is a lie. They just made it up. They didn't read the bill. It's nonsense. People are not buying this. And you see the contrast between one party, which is leading, moving the ball forward for the American people, and the other that is just screaming. Then the Democrats start parroting this talking point in interviews all weekend on CNN. They said, quote, it's so harmful to the American people, cutting Medicaid, cutting Medicare, threatening Social Security, cutting veteran benefits. It's all a lie. You can all read the bills, 99 pages. This clean CR contains no poison pill riders, no policy riders there at all, no cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security, zero, no cuts to veterans benefits, zero. In fact, as was noted, we plus up the accounts for veterans. And respectfully, I'm just going to say this to every reporter in the room, that if you're allowing Democrats to make these intentionally false, scurrilous claims without pushback, then you're aiding and abetting the spreading this misinformation. Yep. I would just ask you to call them. The American people deserve that. They deserve that clarity from our press corps. Make them point it out to you. They can't, of course. And now, after weeks of trotting federal workers up to Capitol Hill and onto cable news shows to protest President Trump's efforts to make the government more efficient, now they're planning to vote down this simple bill. They are going to try to shut the government down. Every House Democrat will participate in this. It looks like that would be a shame if it's true. I hope some of them will have a moment of clarity themselves and do the right thing, but it looks like they're going to try to shut down the government. It's a striking new posture for Democrats, who have always said they've just been apoplectic about the prospect of government shutdowns. I put a video out about an hour ago on social media. I encourage you to go see that. This is they have in their own words. You don't need to trust us on this. But Catherine Clark, here's one little zinger from her, quote, not only is it irresponsible and purposefully misleading, but it's also a dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown, unquote. Now, remember, this is in last year, years past. Pramila Jayapal, quote, the tragedy here is all the civilian employees. It's the employees who are going to suffer, unquote. AOC, quote, it is not normal to hold 100,000 workers' paychecks hostage. It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want, unquote. Not normal. I don't think I've ever agreed with her before. She's exactly right. Jerry Nadler said, quote, shutdown is really an extremist policy designed to appeal to an extremist base and hold the whole country hostage. Yeah, we agree. They and all their colleagues need to do the right thing. Democrats have been insisting they're fighting for federal workers. You're about to see, again, on vivid display, very clear the contrast. You will see one team that is working to fund the government and make sure we do the responsible thing. And you're going to see another opposing the CR because they've now exposed the truth. They're not for federal workers. They're not for anyone. All the people they've said in the past that are going to be harmed would be by their votes. They're using federal employees as props. They're using Medicaid benefits and Social Security checks as cudgels in this thing. The threat of government shutdown, they're using it as some sort of attempt to wrestle power away from the president of the United States, who overwhelmingly won the popular vote, the Electoral College, in every single swing state. Here's the bottom line. If congressional Democrats refuse to support this clean CR, they will be responsible for every troop who misses a paycheck, for every flight delay from reduced staffing at TSA, for every negative consequence that comes from shutting down the government.
Blame the Democrats on it. So I think that's a pretty smart strategy on this. What are the Democrats going to say? We want more spending. We want all of that Doge money to come back and USAID money to come back. And I think that there's going to be that. So the question, of course, if the spending is just freezing things at the current levels, does that also freeze the cancellations? Because we're still riding off of the last administration's essentially budget and financial plan. So then Trump was saying we would impound those funds, but those funds would still need to be spent technically by the end of the year. So are we actually saving any money? Probably not. But we're just in the cutting phase. We will bulk back up, but that money will be spent on things that are more aligned with America and American interests.